Labour somehow think that they can be both pro-worker and pro-business. Labour's Shadow Chancellor Rachel Reeves has said this on Twitter. Labour is a pro-worker, pro-business party, and we will get our economy firing on all cylinders. Under the tweet, Reeves shared a Labour Party video of business owners and CEOs telling us that the Labour Party is the right choice.
Do you think that Labour is the party of business?
100%.
I thought Keir, he was a very, very nice guy, very approachable.
So I saw Keir tonight and I thought, from a small business owner point of view, that it was somebody that actually I trusted.
I really do think that Labour is the party for businesses, and I think that the Labour Party really seeks to speak to those business owners who really understand what is happening on the ground and how improvements can be made.
Some of the ideas and the policies that he was talking about, he just seemed genuine.
I think Labour's a party of people, actually. I think it's time that we had a change in the government.
Having the leader of the opposition stand up there and say thank you for the work that we do, and recognising how hard it is, but also how vital the contribution is that businesses make to society, makes me feel really rewarded and recognised and excited for the future.
Labour is the party for me.
Finally, a party that recognises the work of CEOs. One of the people in the clip was Rachel Cook. She is the CEO of Lifted. Lifted is an innovative startup on a mission to fix the care crisis by revolutionising home care. Curtis, Labour being pro-worker and pro-business, how can that be?
It can't. It's not possible. So to talk about the fundamentals of a capitalist economy, you have two opposing forces. You have on one side, owners of capital, the bourgeoisie, the business owners, right? On the other hand, you've got the proletariat, you've got the workers. But their interests are diametrically opposed. You cannot reconcile. For the capitalist class, their role in society is to generate as much profit as possible. There are many avenues you can do that, but one of the avenue is to suppress wages. Now, if you're a worker, you want to work as little as possible for as high as wage as possible. There's nothing wrong with that. If someone turned around to you and said, here's 70 grand a year for working 3 days a week, are you going to say no? Of course you're not. But what that means is these two are just opposed and they cannot be reconciled. So the Labour Party said they're pro-worker and pro-business. They're just categorically incorrect. Right? It's just wrong. It's dumb. But the thing is, the way they've gone about this, because you don't necessarily... Look, they're a social democratic party. They're not a Marxist party. I'm sure there are some Marxists in the Labour Party. I don't expect them to say, like, oh, fuck businesses. We don't support businesses in any way. As a socialist, I think is right in modern society to have a social democratic party that supports small businesses and self-employed people. Right. But if you go back 100, 150 years, the society was a lot different. You essentially had the 1% and then just poor people, right? It was a bit more binary. Therefore, it made sense that you just simply had those that support business and those that support workers. And that's exactly what it was. The Conservative Party was the party of the ruling class, the business interest, the capital interest, the interest of the 1%. The Labour Party was created through trade unions in order to get workers and unions represented in Parliament. Their whole existence was to fight against businesses and business interests. So, but obviously, as I said, as we've modernised and things have changed over the years, it's not quite as clear-cut. You've got the rise of small business and self-employed people. So I'm not arguing that Labour now need to just go back to when they were first formed and start, rah against the business interests of everyone, because it's not as clear as that. And actually, I believe there are a lot of socialist policies, which are clearly done look like being adopted under Keir Starmer, that actually help small businesses and self-employed people. But this is so, it's so wrong the way they're campaigning on this. First of all, because they say they're pro-worker and pro-business. That's categorically not true, because in the last couple of days, they've been wooing businesses. They've got video clips and they're like, oh, thank you for finally recognizing that CEOs are contributing to society. You do not contribute to society. The workers below you contribute to society, as do nurses, doctors, teachers, and railway workers, which, by the way, no one seems to want to represent. But in the last couple of days, where has the Labour Party been on workers? What have they said in terms of strikes. They have said nothing on that. Where's the video clip of Mick Lynch and Dave Wards, and they're appealing to Labour voters or appealing to voters, say, vote for the Labour Party because they stand behind workers. They're not doing that. So clearly there's a complete imbalance of their interests.
Yeah, and we know that like when RMT was first striking, Keir Starmer actively told his frontbenchers to not join workers on the picket line. That's actively contradicting the line of saying that they're pro-worker if they're telling if Keir Starmer is telling his fellow MPs to not join workers on strike. Never mind the fact that obviously Labour was founded on union members and unions and stuff.
Keir Starmer sacked a shadow cabinet member, Sam Tarry MP, who has been deselected now. Sacked him from the shadow cabinet because he stood on the picket line and said, I support workers. Right?
Yeah, that's definitely not pro-worker.
You've got Annalise Dodds, who was the former shadow chancellor up until a year ago, I think, saying on Sky News, no one supports strikes. Well, I've got news for you, Annalise Dodds. Majority of people support the strikes.
Yeah.
Majority of the British people support the strikes because they know it's a cost of living crisis and people need to have fair pay. So the Labour Party are completely out of touch. This is a thing, right? And what, I don't know if many people know, but actually under Jeremy Corbyn in the last Labour leadership, he had a lot of the business community on side. People might be thinking, oh, how is that possible? I thought Corbyn was this anti-business, radical, anti-establishment figurehead. No, not really, because him and especially John McDonnell went to the City of London, went to a lot of city traders and said, right, we have a plan. We are going to tax you more. That's going to happen, right? We represent workers of this country. Your interests aren't necessarily what we stand for. So, yes, you will get your taxes raised. However, there's a difference, though, because they had a plan of the way they were going to spend things, right? They wanted massive infrastructure in the economy, but they could turn around and say, that's how we're going to pay for it because we're going to tax you more. That wouldn't have spooked the markets. It didn't really spook the markets and didn't spook a lot of traders because they had a plan and they said, we're going to offer you stability. It means we're going to tax you more, but it's stability. And you know what? The financial markets and those that work in the city and traders respect stability more than anything else, which is why Liz Truss and her unfunded tax cuts, which caused a meltdown because she spooked the markets and there's no way for paying for it. And actually, a lot of those in the business community, a lot of those in the City of London, aren't really fussed which type of government there is in terms of should they pursue austerity to get their money back or should they borrow to invest. They don't have a preference. They just want their money back, right? So when Corbyn turned around and said, you're going to get your money back, but we're going to tax you more, they were like, well, we can deal with this much more. There was actually an article in the Financial Times that said it's time for a Labour government under Jeremy Corbyn. The way they did it as well, by being pro-worker and somehow still saying to the business community, like, you know, you'll still thrive under a Labour government, is that they said, we support working people having more money in their pockets. And what happens when people have more money? They spend it. People go out and spend it. And then what happens? Look, sales go up. Profits go up for businesses. That's the correct way, the morally correct way, and I think the logical way of supporting workers and businesses without doing what the Labour Party are doing, which is saying they're pro-worker and pro-business whilst not really saying much about workers and then going on and wooing business. Corbyn didn't do that. He didn't woo businesses. Of course he didn't. He just said, I'm going to tax you more, but this is how I'm going to do it. Labour now are wooing them and then getting people on. Like, I'm sorry, that one of the people, Rachel Cook, was it, in that clip? She is a CEO of a healthcare company. I'm sorry, what? This is neoliberal policy 101. This is conservative territory, right? The Labour Party should be the party of public services. They should not be in discussions. They should not be talking about or talking to people that profit of healthcare. And the idea that, you know, we need to go to the private sector. We need to go to CEOs and say, how can you help solve the social care crisis in this country? You should not be going to them. One, because it won't fix it. And two, what you should be saying is, we will fix the social care crisis in this country. We will fix an aging population by investing in our public services, not someone or a group of people making money off of it. I think it's grotesque that the Labour Party not only are speaking to these people, but they've got one of them on a campaign video saying, yes, the Labour Party is the party of business now. And Keir Starmer saying that profit isn't a dirty word. I think it's disgraceful. There should be no way near healthcare companies. That undermines the NHS, because obviously we know the NHS has been underfunded on purpose, it's been deliberately destroyed, and people are getting fed up, understandably. And those that can afford it are opted to go private, which is, look, I have no issue with those who can afford to go private, fine. But if you're someone who would use the NHS, but are choosing to go private because the NHS is failing, that's dangerous, because one, that means it gives way more of a consent to destroy the NHS once you turn public opinion away from it. Then that creates a society, what we had before the NHS was created, where healthcare wasn't rationed on need, but it's rationed on the size of your wallet. So some people will get no healthcare or very little healthcare. Others will get a much higher quality of healthcare based on whether they can afford it or not. So supporting businesses in the healthcare industry undermines that. And I think it's despicable that they're doing that.
So is there any way that they can be pro-worker and pro-business, or would the only way really be to kind of adopt more of the way that Jeremy Corbyn was trying to do it?
Well, look, so as I kind of explained before, from a Marxist perspective, and to describe the capitalist economy, it is impossible to be both, right? However, I understand that the Labour Party is a social democratic party. It's not a Marxist party. It's a social democratic party. Of course, they're going to be governing in a capitalist society. So I don't expect them to be like, oh no, we're just pro-worker and fuck all businesses, as I said. So I get that they're saying that, of course they support businesses, because that's not really different to what Corbyn did. It's just the way they went about it. He wasn't saying, I'm pro-business and pro-worker. He's saying, we are the party of workers. But guess what? When workers have more wealth and share prosperity, actually that's helpful for small businesses. That's helpful for self-employed people. He was explaining it as an after effect of making people richer. What Starmer is doing is he's actively saying, no, we are the party of business, which is wrong. But yes, no, you cannot reconcile the two. But a political party that wants to govern under capitalism, I understand they're not going to really be making that argument.